And greatness is not intelligence. Greatness comes from character, and character is informed out of smart people. It's formed out of people who suffered.
Back in the early 1990s, when technology was starting to blossom with new ideas, Jensen Huang and his friends Chris Malachowsky and Priem set out on an adventure that would change gaming and media forever. But their tale doesn't take place in a fancy office or a high-tech lab. Recently, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang left Stanford speechless in a breathtaking conversation that has made everyone ask questions. But where did this groundbreaking plan take place? Join us on this epic quest to unveil what Jensen Huang revealed that leaves Stanford speechless. Huang Epic Rise and Nvidia Vision. Jensen Huang's incredible journey from being a Taiwanese immigrant to becoming the CEO and co-founder of Nvidia showcases his deep passion, tireless innovation, and exceptional perseverance. Despite starting from humble beginnings, Huang's relentless dedication to technology and his firm belief in the potential of machines to process complex visual data and create stunning graphics in real time have been the driving forces behind his success. Born in Tainan, Taiwan, Huang moved to the United States with his family at the age of 9, settling initially in Oneida, Kentucky, before eventually relocating to Oregon, where he attended Aloha High School near Portland. After earning his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Oregon State University in 1984, he pursued a master's degree in the same field at Stanford University, completing it in 1992. His career took off when he joined Advanced Micro Devices (AMD), where he focused on developing cutting-edge graphics chips. It was during his time at AMD that Huang began to envision founding his own company to explore the untapped potential of graphics processing units and GPUs. Central to Huang's vision was his unwavering mission to advance PC graphics and drive innovation in the gaming market, which has since become the largest entertainment industry globally. In 1999, Nvidia made history by launching the world's first GPU, setting new standards in personal computing, and revolutionizing the processing and interaction with visual data across various platforms. Nvidia's revolutionary technology not only provided interactive graphics on tablets, portable media players, and workstations, but also propelled the company to the forefront of the AI revolution. Leveraging the power of specialized chips, Nvidia's GPUs enabled breakthroughs in image recognition, natural language processing, and autonomous driving. What sets Huang apart is his ability to foresee the future. Even before the term GPUs gained widespread recognition, Huang understood the potential of his company's technology to revolutionize video games and feature in blockbuster movies like Harry Potter, Iron Man, and Avatar. Today, Nvidia's GPUs continue to drive cutting-edge trends in technology, including virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and self-driving cars. Nvidia's leadership in accelerated computing and AI computing caught the attention of OpenAI, a leader in AI technology. One prominent example of an AI application heavily reliant on Nvidia's GPUs is ChatGPT, an integrated language tool developed by OpenAI. Major tech giants like Microsoft and Google have announced plans to integrate ChatGPT-like models into their search engines, boosting the demand for Nvidia's GPUs and propelling the company's stock value to new heights. Nvidia's GPUs have evolved from being primarily used in gaming and entertainment industries to becoming essential tools for researchers, developers, and businesses seeking to harness the power of AI. Huang's bold vision and entrepreneurial spirit have been instrumental in Nvidia's success, as evidenced by the company's market capitalization of over $500 billion and its status as a true tech giant. Continuing its commitment to innovation, Nvidia has tirelessly worked on developing even more powerful GPUs capable of handling increasingly complex AI algorithms. The latest GPU architecture, Nvidia Ampere, has delivered groundbreaking performance in AI workloads and has been widely adopted by researchers and businesses worldwide, powering some of the most advanced AI systems, from self-driving cars to medical imaging to natural language processing. Now, let us look into the brains behind this vision. The birth of Nvidia. Nvidia's founders were top-notch engineers. Jensen Huang, a Taiwanese-American electrical engineer, had a strong background as the director of coreware at LSI Logic and a microprocessor designer at AMD. LSI Logic played a crucial role in Nvidia's beginnings. The other two founders, Chris Malachowsky and Priem, brought their engineering expertise from HP, Sun Microsystems, IBM, and Sun Microsystems, respectively. The founders quickly realized that being a skilled engineer is one thing, but starting a company is a whole different ballgame. Initially unsure of what to do, they hired a lawyer to help them out. In 1993, they took the first step by incorporating the company. Jensen Huang, with just $200 in his pocket, handed it over to the lawyer, securing himself a 20% stake in Nvidia. Next up was securing funding, but it wasn't easy. Venture capitalists weren't interested in fancy business plans. They wanted to see a strong track record, past successes, and a big vision. Nvidia eventually secured $20 million in funding from Sequoia Capital and Sutter Hill Ventures. This might seem unbelievable, but it was Jensen Huang's connection to LSI Logic that made it possible. Sequoia had previously invested in LSI Logic, so they were willing to listen. Initially skeptical about investing in a graphics card company, Sequoia eventually took the gamble and invested $2 million, followed by an additional $18 million. This was a risky decision considering there were 89 other companies with similar ambitions, but Nvidia's founders had something special. Fast forward to 1999, when Nvidia went public. It was valued at $600 million, proving that the initial investment paid off handsomely, multiplying by 100 times. But at this stage in the story, Nvidia was just a small group of engineers with a big dream. Moving further, we explore the evolution of information systems. Nvidia's quest to redefine computer graphics. In the 1990s, when TV channels were fuzzy and internet connections were slow, personal computers were becoming more common. Back then, if you wanted to see something on your computer screen, like a file or some text, that was pretty much all you could do with graphics. Computers were okay for basic stuff, but if you wanted fancy graphics, like what you'd see in video games, you needed something different. Imagine three guys hanging out at a local diner, fueled by endless cups of coffee. They were Jensen, Chris, and Curtis. They were computer whizzes who thought computers could do better. They realized that the brain of a computer called the CPU could only do one thing at a time. This was fine for regular stuff, but not so great for fancy graphics. Making 3D graphics for games was tough because it needed the CPU to do a lot of maths over and over again. So these guys had an idea. What if there was another part of the computer, kind of like a separate brain, that could do lots of things at once? They thought this would be super helpful for making graphics look amazing. Instead of doing one thing after another, as the CPU does, this new part could do lots of things all at the same time. They called this new part a GPU, which stands for Graphics Processing Unit. The GPU wouldn't replace the CPU, but it would work alongside it, especially for making graphics look awesome. This idea was the start of something big in Nvidia. They knew they were onto something cool that could change not just how computers worked, but also how we use them. But back then, they were mainly focused on making games better. So in 1993, they officially started Nvidia in a condo in California. They planned to use this new GPU thing to make home computers better for playing games. And it worked. They chose green for their logo to show off the envy they hoped everyone would feel for the awesome computing power their chip would bring. Now, the next inventions are more intriguing. Nvidia's evolution from NV1 to CUDA. After securing funding, Nvidia embarked on a 2-year journey to assemble a team and craft their inaugural product, the NV1. In 1995, they proudly unveiled the NV1, marking their official entry into the market. Amidst its development, Nvidia clinched a pivotal deal with Sega to produce NV1 chips for their gaming consoles, envisioning games like Virtua Fighter and Daytona. The unique aspect of NV1 chips was their compatibility with both gaming consoles and computers. This innovation allowed gamers to enjoy Sega Saturn games seamlessly on their PCs, a feat unheard of at the time, especially considering the recent launch of the PlayStation just a year earlier. However, Nvidia's decision to employ a quadrangle-based rendering architecture for the NV1 chips didn't sit well with Sega. Despite objections, Nvidia stood firm in its choice. The rationale behind this unconventional decision lies in the efficiency of rendering polygons using quadrangles instead of triangles. Lazy Game Reviews delves into this choice, explaining how quadrangles could potentially reduce the CPU workload, leading to smoother rendering of rounded objects, a significant advantage in an era of slower CPUs and memory clocks. Initially, the decision made sense, considering the technological constraints of the time. However, it also meant sacrificing support for OpenGL, a choice justified by Nvidia and SGS Thompson, underestimating consumers' need for it. This decision proved detrimental as DirectX emerged, with its triangle-based rendering the NV1 chip incompatible and necessitating software patches to enable some functionality, a less-than-ideal solution. Despite its innovative approach, the NV1 project floundered. It aimed to be an all-encompassing solution, integrating 3D graphics, video, audio processing, and more into a single chip. Jensen Huang later likened it to an octopus, complex and ahead of its time. However, this complexity didn't resonate with the market, which sought simplicity, particularly in dedicated 3D graphics chips. Moreover, the NV1 was deemed overpriced compared to competitors, further hindering its adoption. Compounding these challenges, the industry was moving in a different direction with the introduction of DirectX. This new API favored a triangle-based standard for 3D graphics rendering, simplifying coding for developers and attracting widespread adoption. Consequently, the NV1's incompatibility with DirectX resulted in performance issues and limited game compatibility, further diminishing its appeal. Nvidia faced a big problem when their partner Diamond Multimedia returned most of the NV1 units they bought, saying they didn't sell well and lacked game support. This almost bankrupted Nvidia, making them lay off 40 of their 80 employees and leaving them with a bunch of chips they couldn't sell. This was a huge disaster, costing them around $10 million. While dealing with this mess, Nvidia was also working on the NV2 chip for Sega, but it had the same outdated architecture. They realized they needed to change course to survive. Jensen Huang, Nvidia's CEO, had a tough decision to make. He asked Sega to let them out of their contract but still pay them. Nvidia desperately needed the money to stay afloat. Amazingly, Sega's CEO agreed to this request, saving Nvidia from going under. This act of kindness allowed Nvidia to refocus and put its resources into something that fit better with where the industry was heading. Without Sega's help, Nvidia might not have made it. After their initial setback, Nvidia decided to dive into the PC industry. This time, they kept it simple. The PC market was booming, so they just had to wait for the right moment. In 1999, Nvidia jumped into the PC graphics market with the GeForce 256 graphics card. This card was a game changer. It was the first programmable graphics card and made the term graphics processing unit popular. It lets gamers and developers do all sorts of new things with shading and lighting effects, making games way more immersive. As Nvidia rode the wave of success with its GeForce line, it went public in 1999. By 2000, they scored a big deal to make graphics hardware for Microsoft's Xbox. This deal came with a hefty $200 million advance, a far cry from their earlier experience with Sega. When the Xbox launched in 2001, it had Nvidia's custom chip inside, called the NV2A. With the success of the Xbox deal, Nvidia kept growing throughout the 2000s. They played a big role in making the processors for Sony's PlayStation 3. Huge names in the computer world like Apple, Dell, and HP started using Nvidia's GPUs in their products. Nvidia made another smart move by focusing on designing chips rather than making them physically. This meant they could save a lot of money. Instead, they partnered with a company called TSMC, which is like the best factory for making chips. TSMC doesn't just work with Nvidia. They also help big names like Apple, AMD, and Qualcomm. This partnership was a big part of Nvidia's success. By outsourcing the manufacturing, Nvidia could concentrate on coming up with cool new ideas. They started to think beyond just making chips for gaming and graphics. They realized that their chips, called GPUs, were super powerful and could do a lot more than just make pretty pictures. So, Nvidia came up with something called CUDA in 2006. Before CUDA, it was really hard for programmers to use GPUs. They had to deal with all sorts of complicated stuff. But CUDA made it much easier. Now programmers can write programs for GPUs using languages they already know, like C, C++, and Java. This was a game changer because it meant that lots of different industries could use the power of parallel processing. In 2008, the Tokyo Institute of Technology used GPUs with CUDA for their supercomputer, and it worked well. After that, other big companies like Amazon, Google, and Netflix started using GPUs for all sorts of things like cloud computing, machine learning, and streaming videos. But the real explosion happened when AI became a big deal. The AI boom meant that suddenly, everyone wanted GPUs because they're great at crunching lots of data quickly. So, thanks to Nvidia's smart decision to partner with TSMC and their invention of CUDA, GPUs went from just being used for gaming to being essential for all kinds of high-tech stuff. And that's how Nvidia became one of the biggest players in the tech world. Now, away from the fascinating evolution, what lies ahead is interesting. Nvidia's pioneering impact on AI innovation. In 2012, a pivotal year in the history of AI, marked by a groundbreaking moment, when Nvidia, a tech powerhouse, played a significant role in pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence. The stage was set at IMET, a global competition where teams worldwide showcased their software's prowess in recognizing objects and scenes in images. Among the contenders was Alex Keski, then a PhD student at the University of Toronto, whose innovative approach revolutionized the field. Instead of relying solely on traditional methods, Alex integrated the power of graphics processing units into his deep learning neural network, known as AlexNet. This fusion of cutting-edge technology allowed his system to process a staggering 1.2 million images, a feat previously unimaginable. The outcome was extraordinary, an impressive 15% decrease in error rate compared to the previous year's competition, marking a significant leap forward in image recognition technology. This breakthrough, though modest by today's standards, had far-reaching implications. It shattered the prevailing skepticism surrounding neural networks, once deemed impractical by experts. Nvidia's GeForce GTX 580 gaming cards played a pivotal role in this success, as they were specifically optimized for CUDA, a parallel computing platform. This optimization was instrumental in handling the complex computations required for deep learning tasks, propelling AI into uncharted territory. With the floodgates now open, the possibilities in deep learning seemed endless. Nvidia's strategic investments in CUDA and its surrounding software ecosystem began to pay dividends, positioning their GPUs as the gold standard for training and deploying AI models. OpenAI, renowned for its ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, and even Google Lens, all relied on Nvidia's A100 series GPUs for their rapid deployment and superior performance. The demand for Nvidia's GPUs surged following the meteoric rise of AI in November 2022. Tech giants clamored to secure these powerful processors, with Microsoft alone acquiring a staggering 10,000 units. The A100 GPUs, priced at $110,000 each, flew off the shelves, catapulting Nvidia's sales to unprecedented heights. By July 2023, the company witnessed a staggering 101% increase in sales, reaching a market value of $184 billion in just one day. On May 30, 2023, Nvidia achieved a historic milestone, becoming the sixth company globally to surpass the elusive $1 trillion market cap, joining the ranks of tech titans like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, and Tesla. Today, the company's valuation stands at an impressive $1.15 trillion. Beyond the realm of AI, Nvidia's influence extends into the healthcare industry, where its genomic sequencing technology set a Guinness World Record for the fastest DNA sequencing, completing the task in just over 5 hours. Additionally, Nvidia's Tegra chips, originally designed for mobile phones, now power major e-commerce operations and self-driving cars. While Tesla has transitioned to its chips, Nvidia continues to provide semi-autonomous driving technologies to automakers like Mercedes-Benz. Now, let's delve a bit deeper into how Nvidia is being run. Nvidia's interesting management style. Jensen Huang, the CEO of Jensen Tech, leads a team of 40 individuals directly. He believes in a flat organizational structure, where everyone has a voice, and there are no exclusive meetings limited to only VPs or directors. Huang encourages a collaborative environment where anyone can join discussions and contribute ideas. Instead of formal career advice sessions, Huang trusts his management team to excel in their roles. Huang adopts a dynamic approach by encouraging spontaneous input from employees. He invites anyone in the company to share their top 5 ideas on the spot, fostering a culture of innovation and quick decision-making. This ensures that information flows freely across the organization, facilitating rapid communication and adaptation to changing business and market dynamics, especially in the fast-paced field of AI. Despite economic challenges, Wang prioritizes talent retention and keeping the team lean. While other major tech firms like Facebook, Amazon, and Google laid off thousands of workers during the post-economic slump, Nvidia pledged to avoid layoffs and salary reductions. Instead, they promised raises for staff, demonstrating a commitment to their employees' well-being. Nvidia's internal operations have evolved significantly over the years. In 1995, after the Sega chip layoff disaster, the company underwent drastic changes. For instance, in 2008, Nvidia faced a setback when their Tegra chip, designed for smartphones, failed to gain traction in the market. Despite this failure, Huang retained the team of over 1,000 engineers who worked on the Tegra series. He encouraged them to explore new opportunities. Rather than disbanding the team, Huang inspired them to collaborate with Nvidia's existing automotive unit. Together, they ventured into developing chips for self-driving cars, leveraging their expertise in technology. This strategic pivot showcased Nvidia's resilience and ability to adapt to changing circumstances. While Nvidia has diversified its portfolio and explored various ventures, its original focus remains a crucial aspect of its business. By continuously innovating and evolving, Nvidia has established itself as a leader in the tech industry, driven by its commitment to excellence and adaptability. Who knows what more surprises technology holds for us? Nvidia's RTX revolution and cryptocurrency controversy. In the year 2018, Nvidia introduced a new line of graphics cards called RTX, which brought a technology known as ray tracing into the limelight. Ray tracing is a fancy method that makes the lighting in games look super realistic by simulating how light moves and bounces off surfaces, making shadows, reflections, and other effects look way better than before. Before this, ray tracing was mostly used in fancy 3D art and animations because it was too slow to use in games in real time. The big boss at Nvidia, Jensen Huang, thinks ray tracing became possible in games because of all the fancy stuff they've been doing in physics and artificial intelligence, AI. He says Nvidia's AI can help generate most of the picture in a game scene based on just a tiny bit of information from ray tracing. It's kind of like doing a puzzle, where the AI fills in all the missing pieces for you. Nvidia also came up with another nice trick called DLSS, which stands for Deep Learning Supersampling. It's like when you take a low-resolution picture and magically make it look very clear and sharp without using too much computer power. This tech is supposed to make games look amazing without making your computer work too hard. But despite all these fancy new things, Nvidia hasn't forgotten about gamers. Their graphics cards are still super important for gaming, even though they've started doing other stuff too. So, while they're branching out into new areas, gaming is still at the heart of what they do. In 2018, when crypto mining was all the rage, people scrambled to get their hands on as many GPUs as possible to cash in on the trend. This sudden demand caused a shortage of GPUs, leaving gamers in a tight spot. Prices for GPUs shot up, sometimes by as much as 71%, making it tough for gamers to afford the hardware they needed. Amidst this frenzy, Nvidia saw its gaming revenue shoot up by 26% to a whopping $1.65 billion. However, Nvidia downplayed the role of crypto mining in this growth, instead attributing it mostly to the gaming market. This made it hard for investors to accurately judge the company's performance, leading them to make risky investments without knowing the full picture. When the crypto market eventually crashed, it dragged down Nvidia's revenues as well. This caught the attention of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, which accused Nvidia of hiding crucial information from investors. In 2022, Nvidia settled with the SEC, paying a hefty $5.5 million penalty, although they didn't admit any wrongdoing. In response to the controversy, Nvidia announced in 2021 that they would introduce a new line of dedicated cryptocurrency mining processors, CMPs. These were meant to alleviate the shortage of gaming cards, but with a price tag of $4,300 per CMP, many crypto miners preferred to stick with regular gaming graphics cards, further exacerbating the shortage for gamers. Now, let's uncover some of the challenges that come with heading an organization. The controversial leadership of Jensen Huang. Jensen Huang stands as the lone chief executive officer of a massive tech company from its very beginning. For 3 decades, he's led the charge, steering the ship through turbulent waters and reaping success along the way. However, his leadership style hasn't been without its fair share of critics. One of the most controversial points of disagreement is his relentless pursuit of profit, which at times borders on greed. This pursuit led to a hefty fine from the SEC, leaving investors feeling cheated due to a lack of transparency. Furthermore, the gaming community isn't too pleased either, especially when it comes to the steep prices of Nvidia's graphics cards. Online forums are filled with complaints about Nvidia's cards being overpriced, particularly in the mid-range sector, where competitors like AMD offer more affordable options. A significant incident that tarnished Huang's reputation was the fallout with EVGA in 2022. EVGA, a key partner in producing Nvidia's GPUs, cut ties with the company, citing dissatisfaction with Nvidia's communication regarding pricing strategies. These controversies have cast a shadow over Huang's leadership, raising questions about the integrity of his profit-driven approach. In a recent interview, Huang expressed regret over the difficulties he faced in building Nvidia. From laying off employees in the company's early days to competing with larger rivals and grappling with constant uncertainty, Huang described the journey as a monumental challenge. Reflecting on his experiences, Huang admitted that if given the chance to start over, he wouldn't choose the path of entrepreneurship again. Recalling the hardships, vulnerability, and sheer magnitude of challenges faced in building Nvidia, Huang concluded that no sane person would willingly subject themselves to such pressures. Imagine yourself, age 30, sitting in a diner with your 2 closest friends, contemplating the idea of starting a company. Despite the excitement of entrepreneurship, Huang would caution against it. The journey, he emphasizes, is far more challenging and unpredictable than one could ever anticipate. Now, let's analyze what the future holds. Assessing Nvidia's future amidst growth and competition. Over the past couple of years, Nvidia has experienced tremendous growth. They seem to be in the right place at the right time, with their share price skyrocketing by 220% some couple of years back, and their revenue is still growing at an encouraging rate. But the big question on everyone's mind is, will this growth continue? Opinions on the matter are divided. Some believe that the rise of artificial intelligence, AI, will keep propelling Nvidia forward. They argue that AI is still in its infancy and has a long way to go, so Nvidia stands to benefit from this ongoing trend. Moreover, Nvidia is heavily investing in AI research and constantly publishing groundbreaking papers in the field. On the other hand, skeptics argue that Nvidia's growth may not be sustainable. They point out that Nvidia is facing increasing competition in the GPU and AI hardware market. Tech giants like Amazon and Microsoft are developing their custom chips, posing a threat to Nvidia's dominance. Microsoft, for instance, has launched its Arc series in the desktop computing space, while AMD is also gaining momentum. Additionally, Nvidia's reliance on Taiwan-based TSMC for semiconductor chip production could be a vulnerability. With China exerting more pressure on Taiwan, there's a risk of disruption to the semiconductor supply chain. This geopolitical tension adds uncertainty to Nvidia's prospects, as well as to the global semiconductor industry as a whole. What do you think about Jensen Huang's revelation that has left Stanford speechless? Let us know your answer in the comments section, and if you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.